That clock keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me just let me That clock keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me just let me That clock keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me Fuck all that shit, just let me go.
Broadcasting live, party earth. This is badass. You do broadcasting now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm C. Stop the point. Ball behind the glass. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Look, there's no way to avoid this topic. There's not a hell of a lot going on. I've covered everything with Pyrocynical. Little update in Pyrocynical. Have I said this before? Me and Linead confirmed. And this is the only thing. I just decided not to make a video on this, but I just want to go into that before we get into it. Linead and I have confirmed that in one of the DMs that Ivory claims to have sent the deleted user, the guy who's supposed to be Pyrocynical, he did say he was a minor. On another front, I went to a source and I asked them to send me the ID of Pyrocynical, the actual ID, and it's exactly the same one that Ivory put out. Now, I decided not to make a video on that, just to try. I didn't know how much more attention I wanted to bring to. I know Ivory's taking a lot of crap, but I just want to let you know that I do that. In other news, that's it for the drama front. That's it. That's it for the drama front. Obviously, they titled this "A Withering Country," and we can't count votes anymore. We can't do the simplest of things. How? What's happened? Why are we? Why did the media give 3% chance to an election that's this tight for the second time? I think that's, media's institution, that's evidence of withering. And I don't say this easy. I say it with a very heavy heart. The things that I always knew that my country was insulated from, the stuff that happens over there or down there, are happening in the United States. So what does that mean? It's withering. It's falling apart. And when it's been falling apart, I'd probably put it around 9/11. That's when things started getting crazy. And just downhill from there. I mean, when I look at something like what happened at Count Dankula, it's over there. When I see some crazy shit that happens in Saudi Arabia, it's over there. Or South America. And now it's basically become the most powerful country in the world. And it was probably guaranteed. It was probably going to happen no matter what. Because I think, unfortunately, we haven't had a nice world war to show you what oppression really looks like in a long time. And when I was a kid, there was a real threat of, a visible threat. A group of people. There was West and there was East. There was no Middle East. They were just a little annoying back then. You were just a little annoying back then. Volt.
Wrong.
And there was West and East. And the West lived very different than the East. And, you could always, if you had these sort of crazy ideas, there was always somebody to point to. Well, that's what they want. So things didn't get all that extreme on the left. If they did get extreme, I fully admit, on the right, they were a lot more extreme. I grew up with a lot of more religious right-wing kooks, much more than I see now. They're, a minority of the problem. So, yeah, the country's withering. You can't even do a count. It's shocking. You can't even do an election. A lot of people tried to say that back in 2000. But, going to court is not evidence of the country falling apart. That's actually evidence of the system working. And you need system, because otherwise you have chaos. And when you have chaos, you have a power vacuum. When you have a power vacuum, that's when things get over there. But now it's in the United States. And I think a lot of it has to do is with the fact that we never thought it would come to that. It was always something that happened somewhere else. The war that end all wars type thinking. In other words, what they used to say after World War I. I'll never forget this. I saw this video of this man kissing, probably in New York, a sailor coming back, kissing his girlfriend after being months over things. And he goes, and they are happy because the war is over. But most of all, they are happy because there will never be another. Of course, less than 30 years later, one of the worst wars happened in our history, and the whole planet got involved. I don't think we have anything like that to sort of discourage some of these ideas that are actually resurfacing as mainstream ideas. And with those ideas, you get a win-at-all-cost Machiavellian type of outlook. It's for the greater good, so it's okay. And that, I think, is not only the biggest danger facing the United States, it's the whole Western world. Because the Western world was probably the only example prior to this where these things didn't happen, or didn't happen as much. Look, dead people have been voting for a long time in New Jersey. But it was local. It was some corrupt fucking prick stuffing ballots, stuff like that. The election in the United States was always considered, and maybe this is a part of the war that end all war mentalities, too big to fix. Well, it was only too big to fix till the country got more divided as time went on. And you really got to see a good look at that in 2000. You got a good look at the future. So unfortunately, and I don't say this with pride or it's over, or I'm not going to try to George Carlin this thing and say the country is crap 6 years ago, but I think when the culture withered in the country, when things changed dramatically after the 60s, and the sense of, and I think that was never shown more than in the movie, what Eastwood did, Get Off My Lawn. What the hell is that? El Dorado? What the hell is that called? Well, Clint Eastwood is a big old racist white guy that, worked in, a plant, and he's bitch, get off my Gran Torino.
Gran Torino.
But one of the most important thing that happened in that movie was he had more in common with the Vietnamese neighbors than he did with his own children or modern children, who seem to hold everything just cars and merchandise of value. What is American culture? In general, there's subcultures, there's different. There's the Amish, there's what is American culture? Well, it's withered, and along with the country it has, it's withered. It's gone. Now, I'm not saying we have to do this or we have to act like we did in the 50s. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's no collective culture. And the problem with the collective culture is you also bring unhealthy things with that. And maybe that's why there was a rebellion over stuff like that in the 60s. A legitimate one. But you say this cultural decay, institutional decay. This is what you get. This was predictable. So I'm not going to get into the details. I'm not going to sit there. You can ask Walt. Have I been asking about Nevada?
No, you
not at all.
No, you haven't. You just shush Nick or just only don't.
No,
care.
I don't care. I don't care because it's probably going to take months anyway. If for some reason he wins Nevada and the other states go his way, then Biden's going to sue. Yeah. It's just going to go back and forth so it gets sorted out. Hopefully. And that is an example of the cultural decay, which led to institutional decay. Well, that's not, probably, well, even talking like that would make me a white supremacist. What happened to black culture? How different has that gotten? Prior to the civil rights movement, daddy not being around, statistically, was not as common as it is today. Everything's the Latino culture. Every culture has withered in this country. So it's just a matter of time. There's not that many people out there. And I think there was a while ago, because the country, or the idea of the country came, that would say, you know what, I'm counting this Trump vote even though I don't think he belongs to Ireland. I think he's a tyrant. I think he's bad for the country. I think nowadays it's, and that's okay, because now it's been replaced with Machiavellian. I don't see people, and this is probably the best example for you guys that listen to me on stuff like free speech. There was no free speech but when I was a kid. Actually, you know who said those type free speech but? The conservatives. The religious. They had every goddamn excuse they could think of for stopping Ozzy Osbourne from playing a concert. And they were usually done on the stupidest grounds. But even then, they were considered, they're a minority. Now you have plenty of free speech, but
that's a lot of money, I guess, for a person.
It's an example
of color.
of the culture. I what was it? I disagree with you, but I'd die for your. I would die for your privilege to protect your speech. Well, I knew plenty of people like that on all sides when I was a kid. It's gone because the culture is withered. Our institution is withered. And, of course, that was finally seeped into the electoral process. And it's shame. It's a damn shame. It leads to this when you start to think that nobody can steal an election, that there'll never be another war, that this thing can't happen that happens over there, happen here. That's why we're here. It's not Biden or Trump. It's a collective decay. And you can look at this decay in other societies that were once great, like the Greeks, or even a better example, the Romans. Actually, both examples.
Yeah.
Before those empires were toppled, there was great cultural decay. And what I mean by that is not that they were doing evil things like a Sodom and Gomorrah type thing, right? It's just that they moved away, maybe for good reason sometimes, maybe because it's too restrictive, from what the original idea of Greek life was, or the Roman Empire. Now, I'm not trying to sit there and say that was a better way of doing things. I'm at no time in this thing, well, we should go back to something like that. And I'm not even saying in this case. But you can historically look up, this is where it started. And sometimes it took 2, 3, 4, 500 years to watch that thing fall apart. But I think that's where we're at. Am I saying, gloom and doom and this, that, and the other thing? Not really. But I think we're much more susceptible to some of the horror stories we've read in human history now more than we've ever been. Example. Speech suppression. And now I would even go far as say complaint suppression. All yesterday I saw Tim Pool questioning what's going on. Why didn't they call Texas when they were 85% in? Every other time they've done that. Why did they call Florida? I know why. Because it would look like, at that point, even though he wasn't, Trump was ahead. Psychological. It's what it disenfranchises people. Why were those two states called? Why can't South Carolina and Georgia fix this shit? Why? What's going on? Those questions are either being suppressed or have an asterisk on them. And it's only going one side. You can't sit there and say you didn't know this is coming. We've seen it before. We've seen it as of last month with the New York Times story, Post story. Oldest paper in the world. It's a smear. Well, what about the emails? Is the porn real, but the emails aren't? Well, you'll never know because it was suppressed by these out-of-control tech companies that I rely on paying my bills with. So we wither. It's so funny to me. I keep on bringing RoboCop. The idea behind RoboCop is the country had withered to a point where, was it OCD? Is that the name of the company in the movie?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
OCD.
OCP, excuse me.
OCP, yeah.
Yeah, OCP. Basically had more money than God, was involved in everything from military contracting to building cars. So much so, they actually own police departments. Something you couldn't do, and well, maybe not so long, in the 80s America that produced that film. So much so that they allowed an area, if you watch the third one, it's just an awful movie, but the concept's kind of cool. Frank Miller was involved in that, by the way. So much so that they allowed an area to decay so they could run it outside the oversight of the American government. You saw in the second RoboCop how the mayor was just completely sidestepped. It was the picture of a withered society. A society that didn't value life at the same level as the 80s audience that it was presented to. So much so that a robotic machine carrying a 3-round burst pistol was acceptable. When you start to think about the things that were acceptable when you were a child and what's acceptable now, that's not change. That's withering. I mean, you put an apple on your counter and just leave it there. After a while, it's going to rot. It changes, but not the way you want it to. So I think that's the thing we should see, the societal thing. Is the election fixed? I don't know. I am very suspicious, and I think there should be transparency. I think there's enough circumstantial evidence to investigate it in multiple states. I hold you very suspicious if you don't want to see that. And you wanted to see it 20 years ago. I'm very suspicious that, media was shut out of guys just counting votes. That there could be no oversight. I'm very suspicious that voting stopped or counting stopped and predictions stopped. I mean, what did Nick say to me? Oh, Trump's good. He would need like 70% of the incoming vote in order to win Pennsylvania, I forget what state it was. And they're saying it's close to 100? Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
It's like 100,000.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know what's going on. I think a lot of people are arguing about Twitter on both sides that are just like they have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm not going to engage in that. So, yeah, I'm interested. But what spooks me is you can block off people counting. What spooks me is the lack of interest to get this right. And I look at people. I'm not talking your average fucking liberal or Democrat or something. I look at people and they have a lack of interest too. And then I'm starting to realize, the people that were rioting over the past couple months who were not Trump supporters, they kind of the more withering that goes on is to their advantage. the lack of belief in it's like a win-win situation for them. They get their guy and they win. If no one believes in democracy anymore, they win. The Constitution is supposed to act as an insulation for authoritarian ideas and government. And the people that I saw rioting want to overthrow that idea because it keeps them out of power. So maybe you can't burn the Constitution, but you can let it rot. And we are seeing the rot right now. We are seeing the decay right now. No matter what side you're on. I don't know why you're happy with this result. If you voted for Biden, how could you possibly be happy? And by the way, I've had lefties come up to me. This is not what I wanted. Plenty of them. Decent Americans. Decent Americans. People that thought Joe Biden was the best for the job. I don't know if you watched the video that I made on the other channel. I tried, go vote for the guy that you think is going to do the best. Plenty of people come to me and said, this looks awful. Forget if you think, even if they don't think the thing was fixed, you can't count votes? What the fuck's going on here? The United States of America. Well, there are people on that side that this is exactly what they want. Because in chaos is opportunity for great change. What replaces that, and I think the ideas that dominate that party are authoritarian. Why do I believe that? Because they're so dismissive of free speech. Because it's always free speech, but. Absolutely. So, I think honest folks want to know what's going on in these states. I do have some bad news for Trump supporters, though. The way the Constitution works is the states decide how the votes are counted, even if they board up the doors and don't allow people to view in. That says a lot about that state. But as legislation is passed, and that legislation has been honored, Trump doesn't have a case. If they make changes to the laws they override, that's when the Supreme Court can get involved. Prior to that, if the Supreme Court's an honest body, they'll rule in favor of the states. Now, all of this was predictable. I told you, a month ago?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, a month ago. The idea, I do believe that the idea behind mail-in voting was to create this exact scenario. Because I think the people that wanted that wanted the chaos. In chaos, there is great chance to institute great change. They're not exactly constitutionalist. I'm not talking about your liberal buddy that has a different point of view. I'm talking about someone who wants to burn it to the ground, which we saw very much of the last couple weeks. So, yeah, was there something going on? I don't know. Nick pointed out, we don't know what happened, so we can't sit there and complain about a fix until we know how it was fixed. That's more than Donald Trump was given as far as his Russian investigation. Donald Trump colluded with the Russians to win the election. One question that was never asked, I think, other than here, how? How? Did they stuff ballot boxes? Did they hack in? How? How come there's no evidence of any single American? How come Mueller couldn't find one fucking guy? Everybody that was charged with an offense that absolutely had absolutely had nothing to do. They were charged with offenses that they did. Nothing to do with Russia. Not like treason or anything. So yeah, I want to see more transparency.
That's a lot of money, I guess.
I want to see what's going on here. But Tommy, Trump is fascist. Yeah, that would be the justification for stuffing ballots, rioting.
Trump's just racist. What do you mean, Tommy?
Well, look. And then I actually agreed with Ben Shapiro when he said that Trump was, and I no longer agree with him, Trump was by calling the race and saying we won this thing, we got screwed. He thought it was too early, and I think, were you up at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said this is now here. Shapiro's right. The Shapiro's right. I no longer believe that. Just due to the way that the polls were, due to the way that counting stopped magically, due to the way that Texas and Florida weren't called. It seemed to be like deliberately keeping that going. Due to the fact that we even had mail-in ballot voting to begin with, I absolutely believe that was by design, and it seems to be working exactly like the New York Times and Tim Pool said it would. We'd go to bed thinking it was Trump and wake up and, here we got it. Yeah. That's exactly. I'm not even that surprised. I don't even ask about Nevada. This was the idea. This was the purpose. We already had, when they used the excuse that it was the pandemic or running riots, idiotic excuse. So we have to allow more people to vote. Well, we have that. We have to make it easier. Yeah, easier to the point where it's easier to fix. Easier to the point where, the same group of people don't even want to check if you have the legal right to do something, like vote. Don't care if the legitimacy of the ballots are verifiable. That's a constitutional threat. That's an election threat. That's a societal threat. So, yeah. Of course this was. We already had a system where a pandemic happened. We could still vote. But we needed another one. But that was by design. So, yeah. I think Trump was right for calling the election in his favor, because that's probably, if he just goes, we'll see. That's not going to activate anybody to say, is there fucking bullshit going on here? Now, I'm not telling you there is, because I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know like these jackasses on Twitter. And I'm not going to pretend like it's over and just call everybody salty. I've seen both sides. Can somebody, I don't know, where did that happen? I'm not even going to entertain that shit. Unless you have some fucking hard evidence for me, Chad Computers, and you call me up and say, how could there be more votes than registered voters? Well, there can't. And show me an example where that happened. But I do know this. When Trump was censored or asterisked in areas of California, which really didn't matter one way or another, 200% voter registration. I know somebody was arrested in New Jersey, a New Jersey politician, for attempting to commit voter fraud. I know what Veritas uncovered. And all these stories were suppressed. All these stories had asterisks. All of them.
That's a lot of money, I guess, for a person.
Why are you mad?
Why are you mad?
Man, I love that.
What were the asterisks? There's no evidence of, well, here it is. There's no evidence of voter fraud. Here it is. It wasn't like, you can't sit there and say, well, I didn't think this would happen. No, it was by design. And I think a man who is investigated over treason, and the primary evidence for that was literally paid for, bought, and made up by his opposition party, which justified spying on his campaign. When that didn't work and they didn't find any evidence, he was charged with something he had a legal right to do, which is withhold arms and supplies from the Ukraine. That was called blackmail, but that wasn't the final charge. The final charge was lying to Congress. And that's not and he was impeached for it. That's not a statute crime. A man that has been blamed for 200,000 deaths when we were told that the deaths would be in the millions. We don't talk about that anymore, do we? All the horror predictions that were going to happen in March. Yet he is responsible for 200 deaths. The death rate doesn't looks about the same as Europe.
That's a lot of money.
Who did it so much better.
A person of color.
He has every right to say this is bullshit and this should be looked into. We have 3 situations: treason, Ukraine. He's got the right to pull that shit. The only way he can't pull that shit is you actually give him money. You give me money, then I don't know. Even throw in the suppression of the stories and the outrageous idea, even though the numbers don't even, if you want to go infection numbers, which are irrelevant, death numbers are irrelevant. Yeah, you put all those things together. Yeah, he's got every right to look into it. I'm interested too. I wouldn't be saying this had Biden been declared the winner of Georgia and North Carolina. I wouldn't be saying this at all. I think, well, nope, it's got to go. But due to the things in this special circumstances where the opposition has been psychotic in trying to remove him, psychotic in trying to overturn an election, psychotic in allowing media. There wasn't those people I talked about before. I'd die for your right of free speech, even though I don't agree with you say. They're not like, we're not talking about those people. Because the Constitution is designed to keep them from gaining power. And it might not be able to do that much longer. You know, let's say Trump wins this thing. Oh, yeah, we're all saved. No. Look at Arizona. Demographics are shifting. Look at this. But the fact that these 3 things happened, and all 3 years have been about removing him, all 3 years about not respecting the first election. Every time a Republican gets elected, a Democrat hasn't lost office since fucking 1988, Michael Dukakis. Everything's been a conspiracy ever since. The mask just slowly gets ripped off of that party if you're a fucking voting Democrat or you have liberal ideas. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm sure you're as patriotic as I am. But I am talking about you. Let me speak! Absolutely, I am talking about you. I'm talking about you if you're free speech bot. I am talking about you if you refuse to ignore, if you refuse to even consider any opposition. I am talking about you if you're saying mass, it's okay to riot. Yeah, then I think you're a fraud. I think you're phony. I think you probably have an alternative motive, and if you don't, you're an idiot. Yeah, sure. Let me speak! Nevada, don't worry about us. We will continue taking our time counting. I can't count. What the fuck?
Man, I love that.
So, yeah, this is an example of a withering country. I think of Tony Soprano when he's in his psychiatrist's office and he's talking about his life and he's wondering, did I get into this thing too late? Are the best days gone? Am I at the end of this? I forget the mafia. I think I felt that way my whole life. I'm only grateful that I was born in the 70s where I saw some semblance of this country kicking on all cylinders. And I mean this when I say this. And then we're going to start to take calls. The most humiliating thing about this, and I'm talking about the vote counting, not if my guy loses. Whatever. My guy loses, my guy loses. All right? Is to, how do I put this? The most humiliating thing about this is having someone come to you just about every day and talk about their freaking dreams, and talking about what they come from, what they experience and things, and how dramatically different it is to what I took for granted as a child. And explain to this foreigner, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I can't explain this. This doesn't happen. This happens where you live, not where me. And I used to hear this all the time when I was a kid. Well, the whole world is embarrassed about George Bush. Who cares? The whole world's embarrassed about Donald Trump. I'm embarrassed that my country can't do the simplest, most fundamental fucking things. And I don't think this is just because it's so fucking
That's
close.
a lot of money, I guess,
Freaks,
for a person of
flukes
color.
happen. It's embarrassing to look Volt in the eye, even through a computer, and tell him, maybe we aren't the best. Maybe if you move to the United States, maybe if you move to Canada, maybe you move to Europe, just a lateral movement. Because half of the country has either passively or directly decided to engage in the failures of Eastern Europe and South America. And they're willing to do anything to get that power in the tradition of Eastern Europe and South America. That is the most humiliating thing. There's nothing that Obama, Biden, Trump, Bush can do that can humiliate me more as an American. Not to be able to point to something that is superior way to live, superior government, good government, diverse government. And most of all, the diversity of ideas and thought. When all I can show him is what's left of a decaying culture and the radicals that want to end them. That's humiliating. Because I have no answers for you, Walt, and I don't know.
It's just embarrassing to see the country who was like built on freedom of expression, just being so censored, being so ridiculed to just chaos. It's just embarrassing.
It is.
It's
Because
just embarrassing.
people out there that have kings running their country. That's backwards.
Cough, cough.
It's backwards.
Cough, cough.
So there you go.
Hmm.
I'm not going to give you conspiracy theory. I think there's probably something going on. But we'll see how it goes.
No,
We'll
all we
see
can
how
is
it
just
goes.
wait, man. All we
All
can
you
is
can
just
do is
wait.
wait. I can't call this a fucking sham. I can't call this a sham until I find out what the fuck happened. I don't know what happened. I'm just waiting for it to get sorted out and praying to God, or the spaghetti monster in my case, that this gets sorted out without anybody getting hurt. Because I know there's a lot of people that want it to go there because they know it's the only way they can attain power. Because in the past, historically, it's the only way they ever get power. Before the withering is just rotting aftermath. Let's take some calls. Simp Man's been in there for a while. Go shoot.
Oh, hey, how's it going, man?
How are you, sir? How can I help you?
Yeah, I just wanted to just go by. So you're pretty much just on the whole thing of, like, Trump, if, like, he believes that, there's obviously fraud or anything going on, he will just go through the suing process.
It's not even that. I think he has good reason to believe after what's happened, too. Let's throw that in
with
there.
you.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
It's really shady. I've been looking at this thing, and, like, I was like, why is what was it? I think it was Michigan the other night, and I was just watching, and I was just like, why isn't this being called? All of a sudden, I go to bed, I wake up, it's blue, and it's only just by a few points.
By the way, Tim Pool gave this scenario, as did the New York Times, from two different perspectives, of course. So this was not an unreasonable scenario. It is a scenario that I believed would happen. I said all week, I've gone through this before in 2000. I was 24. So I have a really good recollection as an adult on how these things tend to roll. And, this take forever. If we're lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're lucky.
Like,
one of the Clinton's ex, I can't remember his name. Was it Paul Bagala? I can't remember. They were running war games, election war games, and, mucking up the system. Trump claimed this, they claim that, and let the generals decide.
Yeah, like,
this is not. We're not talking some fringe group in the Democratic Party. We're talking about the Democratic Party running war games to look to the generals to get involved. Whoa, that happened in the States.
That's sketchy.
It's South America. Military coups.
Exactly.
You know, holy shit.
Oh yeah, no.
I didn't see anybody else. I didn't see any Trump administration talking about that scenario. So yeah, I think he's had every right to call it. At first, I didn't, but I just started to remember how his administration has been persecuted and tried to be undermined, and I remember how his followers are demonized. So yeah, sure.
Yeah,
and how evil. I don't know the word to compare that all cops are bastards burning shit down to the fucking ground, and I'm supposed to believe that's about George Floyd. No, the George Floyd's protesters went home in about 2 weeks. The far leftist wingnuts saw an opportunity.
Oh yeah, no. I saw those videos of bricks being placed and Antifa handing out fucking bricks and so on. And so
they wait for this. By the way, this could just Antifa has actually got a stronger following here in Germany. They just don't have the opportunity because we've had a good 15-year upswing of economic prosperity.
You're saying we should move to Germany? Is that what I hear?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that because it could just as easily happen here, and they'll put you in. I mean, we have a president and chancellor over here that literally says free speech, but there needs to be consequences. And she's not talking about you being shamed on Twitter. She's talking about putting you in jail. Look, one of the things I understand how disgusting it is, but you can be put in jail for Holocaust denial, which is probably one of the most rotten things you can engage with as a human being. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I can think of one thing that's worse: putting somebody in prison for it. I mean, look, it's Germany's laws. It's the way they do things, but there's something pretty fascist about that.
Oh yeah, no, that's totally there. But like as I said, if honestly, like you want to know what I'm gonna say, let the states just continue to count, and then I'm just gonna say let Trump be able to do his court.
Somebody call me a fence rider. I'll tell you. I have no problem coming out telling you to believe. I just don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. If anything, maybe the votes are legit. It's not a fence rider. I don't know. I am highly suspicious, considering everything that I've seen, the mask being ripped off the left, the media, and the social networks giants. Do I trust the least?
Yeah, just let Trump go through the whole thing. Let the legitimacy being seen over. Let it go through the due process. Just let it be handled that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's not illegal to sue. I mean, Al Gore sued the state of Florida, I think 3 times before they cut the whole fucking thing off and went to the Supreme Court. So it's not illegal to do this. We went through it, and we survived it too. We survived it. So
I mean, just let it go, guys. I mean, like I'm so tired of like hearing everybody being like, well, I have the facts.
yeah, I know. Well, go to Twitter for that. You want to argue over this shit and make a fool of yourself about stuff you don't know, and it's perfectly fine with me. I think it is fair. And if you're having a conversation like this, if you have one guy, like I see a lot of these Biden guys, they're waiting for that moment that they're probably not going to get from too many people in comparison to the way we got it in 2016. And they're just taunting.
It's never gonna be just like that.
But if you're also on the right and just screaming a bunch of shit you don't know anything about and demonizing people, and you're just becoming one of them. Wait till I posted a picture, and there was a guy that said 100% of the Biden vote back. I think it was Michigan, and the guy said, "No, I made a mistake." The same guy said, "I made a mistake. I put an extra 0 in there. I'm really sorry. Fixed it. Got fixed." But that was not why I retweeted it. Where I retweeted it is when it was RT'd by a conservative commentator. It had all sorts of asterisks in it. That's not the place for a platform. That's the publisher. Publishers edit, not platforms. Free speech, but when you don't have the principles to encourage these corporations to have the same principles of a First Amendment, you don't get First Amendment type results. When the record industry would piss and moan about labels being put on their albums back in the 80s and 90s, and mostly the left would rightly pull out the First Amendment. And that it should be plied, even if the content is disgusting and abhorrent. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's the opposite.
They do the opposite. They do the exact opposite. They give you literally the same arguments that the Christian right used to make when I was a kid. There's consequences.
Yeah. I agree with you that, Americans' culture very much withering. I don't even think I can even recognize it if it was being shown to me today.
I wonder what it'd be like when I went home. I think the last time things have been this crazy were I guess during the Bush administration. But even then, I mean that he wasn't a legitimate president apparently either.
Listen, let everything just play out the way it is, guys, and just let Trump be able to do
plenty of time to kill other people. There's plenty of time for that.
God.
There's nobody running out. But I will say this for those who thought this moment would never arrive. Usually when this happens, it's too late.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
I agree with you. Thanks.
Bye bye. Mohammed from Lebanon, you're on the air. And not Lebanon,
up,
Pennsylvania. How you doing, buddy?
Fine, thank you.
How
are you?
Great.
I just wanted to say that I'm optimistic about what's happening because things were so much bad before, but now Trump exposing it.
Oh yeah. I think when Obama got elected, I think some more extremist leftists thought this was like a permanent thing. There seems to be almost entitlement to the office that this is going to go on, and I think I think when Trump won, it was just not in the cards. The idea was to turn Texas blue, and then it'd be a one-party system forever. And we're not. They didn't get the results, and I think I feel like in 2008 they figured. Here we go. Well, it turns out Obama kind of looked the other fucking way and didn't question any of the people that he appointed about this very serious allegation of Russian interference directly with the Trump campaign. That's why they fucking freaked out when they brought up the word spying. Well, when you bug somebody's fucking apartment, it's spying. Might be legal.
That's the definition.
Might be legal. I don't know if we should call it spying. What are you gonna have a semantic debate over putting a fucking bug in the Trump Tower? That's spying. It might be legit. Hey, guess where a good situation where you think we could spy on Trump? If he's dealing with the Russians, that's completely appropriate. The problem is they knew it wasn't. And there's significant evidence to show that they knew it wasn't. This is desperation. We have FBI agents on tape saying, "Don't worry, we'll make sure this doesn't happen."
And also, I wanted to tell you about the embarrassment of Trump. It's not true because as America is divided about Trump, also the whole world. Like you can you will find Trump supporters.
Yeah, I noticed that
all over the world, even in the Arabic country, in Saudi Arabia, and Lebanon, everywhere.
Yeah, I would probably
same thing. Yeah.
Some people like it. He's a polarizing figure. There is no doubt about it. Extremely polarizing, as was his predecessor, at least in the United States. Yeah, so I didn't care. Like even with like Bush, I don't like Bush in Europe. I don't care. Fuck him. I'd feel the same way about Trump. I didn't really care. I didn't care that certain people didn't like Obama. So what? Fuck off.
That's the result.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, man, Mohammed. By the way, I saw your shaved head. I didn't know what to say. Thank you for complimenting my hair. It's already grown back.
Okay.
Take care, bud.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Salam.
Salam alaikum. And then you say alaikum salam, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how you say hello. But goodbye,
well,
we
most
say
people go
salam.
salam, right? That's like goodbye or bye.
Salam.
See you.
Yeah.
Yeah, salam.
See you.
Salam alaikum, and then you're supposed to reply alaikum salam. Okay.
I can salam or just salam.
Okay. All right. Also, I do worry if Biden gets elected, if they just say, okay, no one's going to check us now. Everybody gone off social media. Fuck off. They're never going to remove my protection. Let me speak. Vault, the Middle East will rise. Better start learning Arabic. Yeah, sure. Why would you want that? You're trying to get out of there. Maybe he already has. All right, I'm gonna go through the Pantless Gamer. You on here?
Oh,
What's
good.
up? How are you?
Hey, just remember, Bionic Pig, we're not an echo chamber. It's Twitter. Everyone has a fair opinion and voice. So
Bionic Pig
we all know-
wants to be in a bubble because apparently he likes looking stupid. Bionic Pig, guys like Bionic Pig. You have one guy that can't stand to be challenged, and Elvis the Alien can't handle being challenged. But that's another story for another time.
Elvis shuts the fuck up, though.
Yeah, he does. But he has to apologize a lot.
Yeah.
Oh no! If I had to fucking be, put in a room in hell with somebody for the rest of eternity, I'd much rather be Elvis.
No, I just can't understand how all of these fucking mail-in ballots are all coming in as Biden. I'm like,
I don't want. Well, I'll let you speculate on it. I don't know that's true. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen. You know what? I started playing fucking Apex. I'm waiting until it's done. I want all the evidence in. But if that's happening, if there's 100% mail-in ballots coming in for Biden, yeah, that's something that would happen in like what they called it, perestroika in Russia, where they actually allowed some kind of elections in that communist country, and everybody wanted Gorbachev 100%. Yeah, sure. Yeah, if that's happening, that needs to be investigated. Absolutely. I don't know why you wouldn't want that investigated.
No, the only speculation I have is just that, like, I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I said, fuck it, I'm voting Trump. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make sure, because this fuckery happening with that New Jersey scandal, I was like, I'm not running the risk of that, so I'm going in person. I'm not going to do that. And I don't see how Trump people were, like, the only ones who were
Hold on, I got to interrupt you because Dems actually believe in COVID. Are you fucking kidding me? You mean there wasn't one ill Republican? There wasn't one disabled Republican that couldn't make it to the poll? Go fuck yourself. Are you that dumb? Or is it just trying?
Trump had COVID?
Try. There wasn't one. You literally sound like a Russian apparatchik in 1985, you dolt. Go ahead, Pantless Gamer.
No, I saw the fuckery happening with New Jersey. I paid attention, so I said, I'm going in person. I'll do early voting, but I'm going in person. Mm-hmm. And it's just weird that every single person who trusted the mail system didn't see the fuckery and went, oh, I trust that it's going to go to Biden. Check. Sure. That's all.
Yeah, well, I guess. I don't want to speculate on any of that stuff. It's I don't know. I want to see. I want to get a full picture of that. If that is the case, but then the thing is, like, all right, let's say there's voter fraud. Voter fraud could happen at a couple different. It could happen at a local level. It'd be like one guy doing a little thing there. Could be a group of people, and it could go all the way up to the Democratic Party in D.C. We don't know anything. Nobody knows that.
No.
But if there is voter fraud, I'm not even 100% convinced there is. Yeah, it's got to be looked into. And when people are closing doors, not allow people in, they don't want the transparency. Well, yeah, this is something they do in withering South American, Eastern European countries. They don't allow the transparency because they're just breaking the law, and they know it, and they know you know it. And they're just they're just like Jack Dorsey the other day said all the fucking right things that said Cruz. He's basically saying, do something, bitch. And that's what those people that are boarded up that building when those guys were counting. It's do something.
Yeah,
want to find out what's in here? You better come in here. Come do it. And if that's the case,
if they had confidence, they would let people in. But they just don't.
All you got to do is this thing. Next. The people that do this are just regular folks. They're regular people that are just serving the greater good. I'm just doing. I have some old guy who's like, I think I'll do it. I'll volunteer this year. I want it to go well as part of my American duty. That's who does this kind of stuff. I don't think they should be put under any kind of scrutiny. But if you have a few guys doing that shit, we need to fucking know who you are. We need to know if you did this alone. And if we didn't do it this alone, we need to find out who did this because you are a threat to this country. And you are a traitor. So
the last thing I'll say is if you look at Veritas, one lady pulling 1,800 ballots, you look at, I think it's Nevada with 8,000 vote lead. That's 6 people. 6 people could do that. But I don't know. Just put some transparency in there, man.
I don't know. I've never been there. So I can't tell.
Right, take it easy, man.
Yeah, take care, man. All right. Diva on there. Hello, sweetie. You work?
Hold on. Let me put you on mute. Yeah, now I can hear you. Let me put you on mute.
Kanye got screwed, huh? Kanye got screwed, huh?
Okay. Well, let me take speakerphone. So I was just waiting for you to pick. Okay, so what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna stick to the facts because I'm gonna put some respect on your platform.
Sure.
I'm gonna stick to facts. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I've been saying go.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I'm gonna stick to the facts. Also, I'm gonna be open and honest and like I voted for Biden, and I'm not gonna go into details of like.
I'm not attacking you. You realize I'm not going after you.
You're not.
You're small potatoes to me. You're not. You disagree with me.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but let me get this out. So I'm going to start on November 3rd of why I think shit's suspicious. So November 3rd, I thought it was very interesting that the celebrities that were tweeting a certain, because I noticed like up until election day, certain celebrities were tweeting a certain amount per hour talking about Biden.
Mm-hmm.
On November 3rd, that stopped. A lot of Twitter accounts that were for Trump or for Biden, they all stopped. I thought that was weird also. BitChute gets deplatformed. So I'm just like, okay, these are all weird. So then we get to their, tallying the votes. So then they start calling states that I know for a fact that had mail-in ballots. They're like, oh, they won. And I'm just like, wait, it's been seconds since you've been closed. Why are you calling it? Then later on that night, and I have the screenshot, they called Virginia for Biden when Trump was winning. They already gave him the electoral votes.
Oh, the Virginia thing. I can't get it. I don't want to get into it. The Virginia thing. That was it's kind of a misnomer.
I have the
Democratic areas had not pulled in. Virginia's like New York. Like half of the goddamn thing's country. So you don't have.
Why would they call it when they don't even have all the numbers? It doesn't make any sense. So they're just calling shit left and right.
I think Virginia is a special situation because they have like one huge pocket of people. So under that circumstances, there's just no way they can. There's no way it'd be like. It'd be like let's take a famous black area of Harlem in the United States. Yeah. Like if all that's left is Harlem. It's going Biden. I think it was like that situation. But I don't know. But I did ask somebody about that. I didn't freak out about it. So I don't know if that's a great example for...
I just thought that was weird.
No, it did look... I had asked somebody, and they explained it to me real quick, and that's exactly what happened. And I got to be honest with you, I think Trump will be screaming about that shit right now. He's suing Wisconsin. He's not... No one is questioning...
Yeah, he's not even worried about Virginia. Yeah, no one's worried about it. But no, it was just like weird shit that was happening all night. And then, and then around like 9 o'clock, I like put a tweet out. I'm like, I have a weird conspiracy theory. And then Banana Grabber, he DM'd me and he was like, you're thinking the same thing. And I was like, yep. Yeah. And then Jeff messaged.
Yeah, Northern Virginia.
Jeff messaged me the next day. He was like, are you thinking there's something wrong? And I'm like, yeah, I definitely think it is. And what's frustrating to me is that I'm talking to people that like supported Biden, and I'm just like, does nobody think this shit's weird? Does nobody think it's weird that all these articles about his son is being censored? Like no one cares about
those are the people I'm talking about. Those are the people I'm talking about.
Yeah,
nobody questions it.
I know you never, yell at me. I know I'm that small sector of left people that you like. I'm that small sector.
It's not even left people. I like all left people. I just don't like fucking wise asses. You would never be wise with me.
Right. Yeah. Because like I'm just sitting there and I'm like, is nobody questioning this? Like, why are all these Twitter accounts disappearing? Why is BitChute gone? Why are all these celebrities no longer tweeting? Like, why is all this happening? Like, it's for the greater good. It's for the greater good. I'm like, okay, well, if y'all were pissed off about 2000 election, which I was, because that shit was shady as fuck, that Fox calls Florida and then all of a sudden it goes to Florida.
And I'm noticing somebody in my chat right now is bitching about him suing. Nobody bitched about Gore suing. Doing the right thing.
No, that's why I'm saying is that I can't sit here and not be okay with what happened in 2000 and be silent with this situation. Now, do I know for a fact that some shady shit gone on? No, I don't know that for a fact, but do I think a lot of questionable shit has happened this last year or so? Yes, I 100% think a lot of questionable shit has happened. And is it really that far of a stretch? Of all of a sudden, I'm seeing Obama doing FaceTimes with motherfuckers, thanking them for voting. Do you really no? There's some real suspicion, and I'm seeing Mark Hamill FaceTiming people. I'm seeing all these celebrities that hasn't said shit for years. Now all of a sudden they're dressing up on the streets, and I'm supposed to be here and be like, "Oh, this is all fucking normal."
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. It's like celebrities, I don't think that's a really good example. But I think what you pointed out is just the apathy, whether they got it right or not, is more concerning. That I think you have something. Celebrities pulling for Biden at the last minute. They might just think they're doing their civic duty or what's best. I mean, look, you have
getting paid. That's just my
getting
paid.
It's just they think that's what's best. I would never say that Mark Hamill. As much as I might disagree with him.
No, I don't think he's getting paid. Yeah. But seeing Katy Perry, who just had a baby out on the street dressing up, yeah, she got a check. I 100% think she got a check.
No, well,
no woman in their right mind, after just having their first child, is leaving that baby. No woman in their right mind.
No,
to go out on the street.
I'll tell you what kind of woman would do that or anything like that. Somebody who is cult-like thinking. I mean, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, if you're that big of a believer, you'll do fucking anything. Sure. No woman in their right mind.
No, I just think it's weird.
They could be something. Maybe there's no conspiracy here. Maybe they're not in their right mind. Yeah, I can't imagine.
That could be it. And then also and then what's really interesting to me is Michael Rappaport. I know you know who Michael Rappaport is.
Yeah. He said
this whole 4 years. Yeah, he's been on Trump's ass.
Yeah.
This whole entire time.
And he's like,
if you go to his Twitter account.
Yeah,
you go to his Twitter account. He was like, I voted for Biden. I did my part, but there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So when you're seeing someone like Michael Rappaport saying shit that, and then I'm listening.
I think that guy's an asshole. You know what? I have a little more respect for him now. It's just hey, look, maybe this should be looked into. It's the people that don't want to look into it and are just gonna kind of pawn you off as someone who can't take losing. I can take losing. You lost, you lost. But
even Ice Cube is saying shit. Even Ice Cube's like, oh.
No, Ice Cube is finding out that the Democrats are no friend to black people the hard way. That's what's happening. That's what I'm seeing happen to Ice Cube. Ice Cube started something where he didn't care about the politics. And I don't agree with some of the things that's in the contract with Black America, by the way. But he does, and he has every right to do that. And he's finding that the Democrats only want to use it to push their fucking agenda, not necessarily help black people. So he's finding out the hard way that the real plantation owners are on that side of the wing. And you are to speak when spoken to. You are to be seen, not heard. That's what Ice Cube's finding out the hard way. So I think a lot of myths are breaking up slowly for a lot of minorities when it comes to Democrats love brown people, Republicans hate brown
Biden
people.
really fucked that up, in my opinion. When he went to the Breakfast Club and Joe Biden told Charlemagne and talked to Charlemagne like he was a goddamn slave.
That was the best part of the whole campaign.
That woke everybody up. He talked to him
I laughed like an idiot.
Slave.
Yeah.
And I showed that clip. I showed the whole interview, not the clip, because I don't do the clip bullshit. Yeah. I do the whole sources.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was showing it to hardcore Biden people, and I'm just like, look,
I don't even care that he said that. Trump has never said anything in public remotely that racist.
I'm not even talking about him just making that comment, Tommy. I'm talking about the whole goddamn interview.
Oh, really?
To me, it sounded like a slave master talking to a slave.
Yeah. It
was like, how dare you talk bad about me, Charlemagne?
Listen,
you have all these negative things to talk about me.
Yeah.
Negroes like me. The NAACP likes me. How dare you question me? He said everything but call him boy.
Yeah.
I was waiting for...
Get me a cup of coffee there, boy? Charlie.
Yeah. How dare you talk to me, boy? I was waiting for the crack of the whip, and I'm listening to this and I'm like, holy shit. Now I did what I did, and I kept it a buck. I did vote for him, but I voted for him the week where the early voting started. So this was before the thing about Hunter Biden came out. Mm-hmm. And this was before the second debate, because if I would have known that he'd done the cages, he could have kissed my ass.
Yeah. Well,
because that pissed me off.
I think the Democratic Party, at least the upper crust of the Democratic Party, I'm not talking about regular fucking Democrats again. I think they see you as a means to an end, and they don't. If what would happen to the Democratic Party if Black America became middle class Black America? They'd be out of a fucking job. So I don't believe for a fucking minute, that Democrats at the highest parts of that party want anything but misery for Black people, because they need the victim's narrative to push their agenda. They need, to go in the churches and have the pastor tell you how much fucking white people are giving you a hard time. They need it, because if they don't have it, if you start seeing a boom across the United States in small business ownership in Black America, if you start seeing the average salary move up in Black America, one of the things that I noticed under the Reagan administration, when we had a very powerful economy, nobody listens to them. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about them. It's a little tough to get up upset when you're Black about Black issues, when you got you got mortgage to pay, you got kids to put in school, and then you went through all the same struggles, dealt with all the same racism. I'm fucking college kid who hasn't done shit yet. Like, the white man's keeping me down. I would go back to a Chris Rock joke. When he was talking about undesirables, let's put it that way. He's like, I got two jobs. You can't get one. So that's the threat. The threat is Black success. So, hey.
Well, Tommy, this is one thing.
Keep voting for him. Nothing's going to change.
Tommy.
Yeah.
This is the thing, Tommy. And then I'm going to leave you on this.
Sure.
So I was on a group chat. And by the way, I'm cool with people being allies. I'm cool with y'all.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Thank you for the ally.
How about I just be your friend? I'm not going to be your ally. I'm your friend.
But you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Oh, you're looking at you like white people. No, white people that want to help Black people out or get involved in civil rights movements. Oh yeah, okay, all right, I'm okay with that too. Yeah, sure, I get that.
Yeah, but like, my thing is, it's like, I was in a group chat, and someone who is like, I believe they're like 18, like straight up, and there was me and another Black person in the chat, and he was trying to tell us that America was great for us when Obama was running. It's like, oh, let's go back to when America was great again for Black people when Obama was running. I left because I got so pissed off.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
I got so angry. I was like, who are you to tell me that America was great when Obama was here? So I left. I'm like, I'm going to kill this kid. And the other guy who was Black, he just went in. He went in and he started listing all the things that Obama didn't do for Black people. And I was just like, I was just sitting there. I was just sitting there and I was just reading. I was like, because I'm going to kill this kid. So like, my thing is, it's like, people are just so brainwashed by the bullshit. Like, they're like, oh, Obama's Black, so he did all these great things for Black people. Do I love Obama? Yeah, I do. I do love Obama. I miss Obama. But am I gonna sit here and act like he was like the Lord and Savior for Black people and he did all these great things for Black people?
You better.
No, I don't think he did.
Yeah. No, you better.
I don't think he did.
No, yeah, because you ain't Black unless you love Obama.
Yeah,
talk to you later,
people,
David.
so like what?
I gotta get you. You always take my longest. I gotta clear you out. I'm sorry, sweetheart.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. No, you say some things.
I'm sorry.
So don't worry about it. You're the best. We're gonna be streaming soon. By the way, we're gonna do that soon. Take care. All right.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't Black.
Percy, go.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, yeah. I have the most political subject, and it is, are Marvel movies real cinema?
Let me think about it. Raw, you're on the air.
So, as I understand, America wants to go as Belarus's route.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's actually healthy for the Americans to understand what oppression is.
I wonder that. You know what? You think that's funny? I wonder if you're right.
Because look,
but here's the problem: you can't get like 4 years of oppression and say, "Oh, that was a bad idea." It doesn't work that way. It's usually 40, years. So I do wonder. I do wonder sometimes. It's like we always had you guys to point to as the bad guys. We don't have guys like that anymore. Well, maybe like terrorism, but terrorism is taking a bit of a fucking plunge until recently in Europe. Up until France about 2 weeks ago. So I do wonder that sometimes.
I mean, the fact is that you gotta understand why it's bad, not just say it's bad.
Yeah. Well,
because you have like these leftists who think
it's because they're not in power. It's bad. Here's why it's bad: because I'm not in charge. Even though I have never run anything, I've never succeeded at anything. I just had somebody tell me that this is the best way to do things. Therefore, and I've been told I can't understand why I'm not in charge because this is the way to do everything, and everything works every time we do it. But there's examples with these ideas that failed in the past. But I wasn't in charge. It's going to be different this time. Hey, Charlemagne, go get my coffee.
I mean, technically, this year is the most amazing because Trump got the most minority votes.
No, he did not. That's not true. He got more than any other Republican. That's not true.
That's
more than any other Republican.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I think Trump gets minority. I think Trump has broken the minority vote thing because he doesn't fucking pander to them, like Democrats and in summary. But the way they used to do it is the Democrats would pretend to be allies. I care so much about your suffering. I wish I could understand what it's like to be black. Black people hate that shit. I know this. I know this because I've been told this on several occasions. The Republicans were like, I'm not going there and talking to those people because they don't like me anyway. They think I'm a racist bigot. I don't want to get yelled at and called what a bastard what I am. But I think Trump didn't do either. I think Trump made gains in those areas because he went in there and didn't apologize for who he was, didn't talk down to people, didn't constantly bring up civil rights issues, and knew that he was going to be called racist if he didn't, Most politicians, Republican or Democrat, they do that fucking pandering shit to black people in hopes the media won't call them racist because the media will call anybody racist they see fit. So I think Trump's the first president to do that, and I think minorities in general appreciate that shit. I know I appreciate it. I hated being pandered to when I was a kid. I hate when people said, I know it's difficult being a teenager. Fuck you. I hated that shit. I mean, you don't know shit. You're just saying shit to fucking sound like you care. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care that you don't care. Why don't you fucking just be upfront about it?
Well, I mean, Obama actually does it correctly because Trump, he actually creates economic policies that help everyone, not just black people.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the threat. The threat is that the normal groups that Democrats rely on for votes, victims narrative, and intimidation, if they're successful, that is the worst thing that could happen to them. How are you going to be a civil rights leader if nobody's fucking mad?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. Talk to you later. Peace.
Bye.
Oh, wow. I guess I could take calls all day. He's been there a minute. Man's best tanky. You're on the air.
Hey,
what's up?
So I hope to God that I'm wrong about this. Like, I pray that I'm wrong about this. But okay, so if you look back in history, right? Say back like right before the Civil War, maybe even a little behind, when the tension first starting to rise. You definitely see a lot of similarities to how it is like right now currently.
Well, I tell you what, one of the big things in the Civil War, one of the reasons South seceded is because their guy didn't get elected. Lincoln lost a popular vote. Now we've had that happen twice in 20 years. And I think it only happened one time. It only happened one time before. I think it might have been one or two times. I think it might have been Lincoln and then Bush Gore. That was it. Now I'm sorry. It's happened 3 times in 20 years. So yeah, I think that's a reasonable sign for violence. Sure.
I was taught that Lincoln wasn't even on the polls for like some southern area.
Yeah, maybe.
But like
I don't know that. I don't know if that's
even in the media back then, it was like southern media and northern media would like cover topics and have wildly different like. They just cover it like widely differently, kind of how it is now.
Yeah. Well, look, a lot of people said Tim Pool said this too. That a lot of people said Tim Pool was, I don't know, was he? At worst they called him at best they could just call him a kind of a fearmonger. At worst, they said he was trying to incite. But yeah, I think he went on his experience in being in places where they were killing each other over stuff like this, and he felt the atmosphere was similar. And I think you can put, if we did put the time and the research in, there is historical context to stuff like this, and not to mention the fact that we've seen how many since for 20 the country's like split, man. Like never like this.
Yeah.
Obama won by a pretty big landslide. He really brought in over a lot of people. But if you look at like when I was a kid, like Reagan landslide, Bush landslide, Nixon landslide. I don't know if Carter was a landslide, but he won. Like it wasn't in question. They didn't have to go down and do some quick recall anywhere. The last really close election of consequence, there was a time when this shit was fun. That back when Nixon and Kennedy ran. It was fun.
Like
it was
people,
1960.
Like a couple could literally disagree in like the same household.
Yeah. So all those things have changed like dramatically, and that's why I call this the withering, and there is a withering country here. It's not about who won or who didn't won. It's not even about whether there's voter fraud or not. It's just that there is a cultural withering, and that withering could lead to what you're talking about, and something incredibly violent. And I know, because I've been in a war zone, that culturally, like, what a shock you're in for. Just hopefully you're not in one of the areas that happens, if that were to happen, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, there's a shock. There's a shock coming, and I think here's the thing: it's going to be a bigger shot for the right than it is for the left.
Really? What do you think that?
Because they have their own version of the war that end all wars.
Who does? What do you mean?
The right. The war that ends all. It's one thing to fucking pick up a gun. It's another thing to aim down the sight and shoot. When you have kids, when you have a nice car, or this or that or the other thing. Well, the alternative is let the authoritarians take over till you don't have that shit. So it's going to be a lot harder decision. Who calls me up? Was it you? Oh, me and my dad, we're ready to go, and we're from Texas. Yeah, you ain't ready.
No, that wasn't me. That wasn't
you?
I don't
okay.
want to do that.
Well, it wasn't you.
No, it was me. It was
you.
Okay,
Okay, it was you.
It was me,
okay.
but I didn't say exactly that.
I'm not
my dad is.
Calm down. I'm not questioning either you and your father. But if it comes to that, and hopefully it won't, and I know you believe that too, it's going to be different. It's going to be a lot easier from somebody that has nothing, that's been brainwashed in this shit, that Trump's a racist that wants him dead, to pull a trigger, than it is for a family like yours. So you got another thing coming. So
you think the left is...
I'm not saying they're tougher or anything, no, but I think they're more willing. Look, they're... Look.
Less empathetic?
No, I just think they're willing to do everything for power. I think the Russiagate thing is a good example. And I think that I think they're willing to build. No Trump supporters willing to burn a building. No, we haven't seen a Trump. I mean, we've seen some violent, like slaps and punches, even back in 2016. No Trump supporter has executed a member of BLM. We've had two instances of that in the last 60 days, 70 days. I remember when the first guy was killed. I don't know if you guys. You don't know what sacrifice is. You're gonna find out if it comes to that. But I don't think it's ridiculous to talk about that kind of violence. We're talking about lawsuits. We're talking about elections. We're talking about voter fraud. If this shit's true, or even if people think it's true, the threat of violence is there, and it's worth talking about. This is not normal. Yeah. This is withering.
I used to be very I kind of was into politics when I was very younger, but I was definitely too young to even understand what I was talking about. But beyond that, I was very not into politics at all, and just kind of worried about my own thing. But
I don't care.
I couldn't really. I can't.
This is not a person.
I can't even.
You need a.
I know.
Look,
I'm just saying. This isn't. Look, I can't even avoid it now. That's the thing.
Well, that's another story for another time. I think there was a place and time in America where you could not be involved in politics, and most people thought you were ignorant and stupid, and somebody wasn't interested or removed. Now, it does seem like there's more demand. You can't really drop out. I wish we could go back to those days when, people complain, you're not as informed as I am. Everybody's fucking informed now. Right. Yeah, go back those days. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right.
Everybody's fucking informed.
Yeah.
Loopy on here. How are you?
Check. How's it going?
Yeah, I can help you.
You hear me?
Yes.
Oh shit! Let me mute the stream for a second. There we go.
I can help you, sir.
Okay. Not much. I just came in. Are you feeling the American dream? You
Not
like
now.
it?
Not lately.
Yeah, me neither. I'm guessing my mail-in vote got thrown in the trash, and 50 more Democratic votes came in to replace that.
Can you check? Some states you can check.
Fun.
You can check to see if your vote's been counted in some places. I know they're saying in Georgia.
I can probably check. Like I did check if my mail-in vote was confirmed or accepted to the polling place that it went to. I'll check that, but I highly doubt it was probably counted, since everything going on.
Well, let's not say that till you know something. Until you know something.
Yeah.
You can say you doubt it, but I don't want to harp on that.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I just doubt it.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't count either way, because my state is fully blue. It's Massachusetts, so it's really not
go check for
red
the fuck
state.
Go check for the fuck of it. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll check. All right. See you, man.
Take care. Bye-bye.
How are you doing there, buddy?
It's a call. Oh, the stream's boring. I don't know. It's a political stream. What do you want? That's why I don't do them, because they're boring for me too. Would you rather no content? I suppose. I don't know. I go play Apex. You fuck.
I go play some Mortal Kombat.
It's not really much. What else do we got? Like fucking. Like
nothing.
Let's check the. I got nothing.
Just about I
should end it at 9:00. Because I really, what happens with the calls is, and this is not an attack on anybody here. People listen to me, tend to share my views, and people that don't disagree don't have the balls to call in. My lawyer's gonna love you. Without a crystal ball is suing me because the viewer's voice. Where is she getting money to sue anybody?
Neighbor
suing somebody. I've even in my regular fucking post timeline, I got like fake ballots, guys that are 118 years old that are long dead. FaZe Banks. Listen, I voted for Biden. I'm happy with the fact that he'll most likely win. But if you can't say truly say at Twitter at Jack haven't been absolutely biased in the censoring over the last 24 hours, you're being dishonest. Boy, I agree with that, FaZe Banks. Thanks for showing the courage to say that. That's somebody I trust as an American. I don't trust him. Fuck, I wouldn't let him in my bar, but
Barley House. Oh no.
There's nothing in here, man. I got a whole fucking 12 people working on this shit. Sorry. Twitch banned my goatees emote. I mean emote goatee. Emote. Jacob and the cum jar are gone too. Was that what? Maybe it's time to interview Justin Wang again. All right, let's take one more and call it a day.
Yeah.
I'm going to play. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm not going to say I'm doing it. Yo Tommy C.
Yo Tommy C. Live on Twitch TV.
On Twitch TV. Well, that's Paul. Who should I take?
Agamor?
No, he's been on a million times.
Paradox Night Owl?
Who's that?
I don't know. That's why I pick up because I don't know him.
Fuck off, Dick. I don't know who to take. First guy except for Agmar to write in the chat. First guy to write in chat will get pulled, or at least the name. I'm not struggling for calls. I got 5 in the bank. I just don't want to take it anymore. Don't tell me how to run my show, douchebag.
Vazrium, disagree with you. Vazrium, the last guy. Vazrium.
Vazrium? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? How can I help you?
Hey, give me a second. All right. So I heard that you were like questioning the results of the election. Is this true? Or...
Who said that? I made the. You heard? What did you hear me say?
No. I'm asking first because I tuned in late and like someone was like, "Be like, oh, dude, my takes on this election being rigged or right."
No, I didn't. No. I didn't say the election was rigged, but I do think they should be investigated.
Okay, why do you think it should be investigated though?
Why do I think it should be investigated based on the fact that some of the evidence, some of the dead, the changes, the fact that the elections weren't called in a timely manner, the fact that they keep on continuing to count votes. I mean, in the 40 years I've been alive and all the elections I've seen, usually you're able to call a state when they have 80% in or something of that nature, and I haven't seen that. So I am a little suspicious. So I like to see some transparency. That's it.
Can I clear some of that up for you?
How did you clear up my suspicion?
Oh, well, very simple.
Usually, my suspicion based on what? Did I just say anything that wasn't untrue? Did I say anything that was untrue? What? What?
Yeah. Well, firstly, elections are not always called on election night. So, sometimes these things take a while. For example,
which one was besides the 2020?
2000
in modern era
and 2016 in 2016.
Okay,
Wisconsin was originally called for Hillary, but then they had challenged the results of that. They did a recount and went to Trump.
Okay,
so
no. But that's not what I said. What I said was usually when you have 80 to 90%, they call it in the past.
Yeah, but this is
so you gave me an absolute, a completely one in a million shot as an example.
1 in a million. What are you talking about?
Like the fact that they overturned Wisconsin. I mean that's what do they call it? That's an aberration.
Okay,
so
but still,
a single example should nullify my suspicion.
Not just that. There's other things I could point out. I was pointing out the 2000 election and the Wisconsin change in 2016 as examples of the results not always being definitive on election night.
Those are aberrations.
Okay, great. This is another aberration.
Well, then not really an aberration, then, isn't it?
All right.
If they're happening 3 times in 20 years, it's not an aberration, is it?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Is that fair to say? Is that a fair thing to say?
I don't think it's a fair thing to say because you gotta put.
Then it's not an aberration. If it keeps happening, it's not an aberration.
That's a lot of money.
Okay,
I mean, come on. I mean, now we're gonna have semantic debate on what aberration means.
No. We're getting a little lost in the weeds here because that's not really even a critical point of mine. Even if you disagree at that point,
sure.
The other thing is that like people called this ahead of time. Like all the news networks were saying
there is some truth in that. There is some truth in that, depending on who you were talking to. Yes, New York. I said that earlier in the show. Tim Pool called it. New York Times called it. In a situation like that, but also the problem with that is that was based on mail-in voting. That this scenario would happen because of mail-on voting, which I think mail-in voting is illegitimate because we already had a system in place that took care of a situation like a pandemic. Yet there was such a push towards mail-in voting. So yes, there's another reason. That actually is a reason for my suspicion. The push towards mail-in voting in a presidential election that was sure to be very close within the last 6 months. So
sure,
that is a reason for my suspicion.
Yeah, but the thing is that's unfounded. There's like no basis for believing that mail-in voting.
No. Actually, no. This scenario that was predicted is the reason why it should be done.
The results
and it's not unfounded when you have 200% people registered in parts of California. It's not unfounded when a politician was arrested in New Jersey about 3 months ago for voter fraud. It's not unfounded with the things that Project Veritas has found. So to sit there and repeat ad nauseum that there's no evidence, even after the event happened, is it's an exercise of denial. It's gaslighting.
Wait, no, it's not gaslighting to point out that, like, okay, so there's a lot. I'm not trying to gaslight you.
I don't think you are, but I sit there and constantly say when there's constant evidence going into this election, the fact that it was predicted and telling me there's no evidence, you can't have that opinion because there's no evidence, even though I present the evidence, even though that I give you examples, that is gaslighting. I think you're just repeating. Personally, to me and you, I don't think you're gaslighting me. I think you're being absolutely honest with me. I think you're repeating the mantra.
We're trying to repeat any mantra here. I'm not working off a script or anything like that. It's just that I don't see, like when I say I don't see any evidence, what I'm specifically talking about isn't tiny instances where somebody
That's a lot of money,
registered
I
a vote in
guess,
Sure,
1890.
but we are being told, but those conversations were being shut down and edited by social media when they were questioned. So that makes me more suspicious.
Okay, well, you can
I know.
disagree completely with social media censorship, and the point can still be
and editing. Editing is actually worse than the censorship in some sense, because at least with the censorship, you get a Streisand effect.
Sure. But here's my point. I'm not commenting on the social media stuff because, that's a completely different kettle of fish. My point is, as far as widespread, and that's the key word here, widespread, as in enough voter fraud to flip an election.
Here's the thing. We're having situations in Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia. What else do you need, sir?
Yeah, but the evidence being cited is that it's taken a while to count the votes. That's not evidence of voter fraud.
It's never taken this long, not even in 2000. 2000 was about a series of lawsuits by Al Gore. So the only time in my lifetime, in the modern era, where it take more than 48 hours to count is Alaska, where that's the norm. So you can't tell me it does take this long.
Yeah, but also
it didn't even take. You don't have an example because even in 2000, the vote was counted for Bush. What happened was it was so close that Florida law kicked in, which forced a recount. And after that recount came up for Bush, and Al Gore sued. So it was done the night of.
Yeah, but
the only example I'm aware of, right, is Alaska.
Okay, sure, that's great and all. It's unusual, I'll grant you. But the thing is, that being unusual is not in of itself evidence of voter fraud.
No, it's not. It's evident. It's circumstantial at best. But then you're telling me not to want to want investigation. You have come here. No. You have come here to put me at ease, to give me examples why I shouldn't be worrying about it. I said to you at the beginning and the top of this that I wanted to look into it, and you tried to give me reasons why I shouldn't want to admit to it. Is that correct? Look into it. I want to look into it.
Okay, if you want to look into it, go ahead. Be skeptical. Look into it.
Sure.
However,
that's what So, what were you trying to change here? You said this is not unusual. You said you've come in here and you've told me this is not unusual, and it is unusual. It turns out you had to kind of admit that, and then an aberration was no longer an aberration.
Okay, fine. That particular point was not 100% correct. It doesn't change the point, though, that when it comes to the reason why all this is happening is because
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. You took a call from somebody and told you I was saying that, so I never said that. So you're gonna have to go back to the beginning of this thing and find out that I was very much down the middle when it came. Well, so you called in to argue with me based on somebody else? What somebody else told you?
I said I probably disagree with you. That's why I asked at first what your position was.
Fine, but you also told me why I shouldn't be skeptical. Your argument, that's the truth, was coming in here telling me not to be skeptical. That's 100% correct. And you actually gave me examples that make me even more skeptical.
I didn't say not. I never said not to be skeptical.
Is not skepticism whether there's global warming. Listen to me. My skepticism is not skepticism over whether global warming exists or whether the sky's blue. These are legitimate examples to be skeptical, and I maintain that. After this conversation, I'll give you the last word.
Okay, fine, fair enough. I'm just going to say the reason why the voting is taking so long is because mail-in voting, early ballots, etc. Those things are usually generally counted last in many states or many counties of many states because there was such a high influx of those votes that was already noted by the media for weeks and weeks and weeks beforehand. That is why in this election that is taking so long. And the reason why people were voting early, mailing in their votes, filing for absentee votes, etc., was because of the pandemic. That's specifically why. And the reason why most of those votes are going in for Biden is because Trump said, the pandemic's nothing to worry about. And Trump's lackeys and supporters all believe that the pandemic was nothing to worry about. So that's the explanation as to why things are so crazy this year. It's not because there's this widespread election fraud or whatever. It's because that's just how it played out.
Thank you very much. Thanks for calling.
All right. Thank you for having me on. Have a good one.
Take care. Let me speak. So, yeah. I mean, the mail-in voting we had to do mail-in voting right away. And the fact that Trump never said anything like that, but I don't think that'd be fair to go after him now. We said it's nothing to worry about. It's not as much to worry about. We were told that millions would die. They didn't. But 200,000 people are dead because of him and blood's on his hands. Work that one out in your head. But, all right, at least he was respectful. No, my wife just threw some, I don't know if anybody heard that. My wife just threw something at me.
It's time, I guess.
It's time. But I am going to go to Yo Tommy C. And I'm going to play the
Yo Tommy C live.
The new Apex. Sorry I couldn't get to your calls, but it is time to end this sucker. Word of advice. This is something like I've had people call in and do this story. If someone's streaming, you fucking got him. You got his ass nailed to the wall. Go tell him. And you'll tell them something false. You'll say, he says that kitty cat, the actual felines don't exist. Really? I could fucking smoke him in his argument. And if, like, I notice this especially on the left. You have people that think they're going up against arguments that are never nuanced. And they end up losing. At least this person, before you'd, like, do that, at least this person was honest enough to say that he wasn't fully informed, which is admirable. But you see this a lot. I got him. I got him. I got him. You said there's no such thing as global warming. No, he didn't sound like a whack. Relatively weak, but hard.
This is the almighty infinite, independent excellence. Devil fighting, rebel titan, weed smoking alchemist. Fake identities, okay, you cool with Jason Bourne. Running with these Wolverines, okay, you about to catch a storm. I ain't never been a liar, got tired of niggas playing me. Head in my legs like she about to catch a pedigree. Chi-town to King's home, slapping fives, black stones, 6 mile to danger zones. Bullets look like waffle cones. Folk affiliated the evolution of Machiavelli. Don't make me lead them eagles to you like I'm Chip Kelly. They feel my struggle, I express it through my hip hop. I'm about to make it hard to breathe. Here's a headlock.
Why would you play that like while the music was playing? You talk while you were like Jeff. You talk when the music's playing, and you put the effects when the music's playing. Why wouldn't you play that like when there's no music?
Sorry, the music wasn't working on here.
That's your cue to play a fucking clip.
No, I couldn't hear the music at all, or donation sound.
Well, oh, you can't?
Stereo wasn't on. Yeah, the stereo wasn't on.
You just embarrassed me. I'm sorry.